Point Sports and Entertainment. Hit that like button and make sure you sub to the channel if you're not a member, and also hit the notifications too. Um, let's go ahead and get right to this. All right, now, um, before I get this video started, man, let me give a shout out to a couple of the brothers that have already talked about this. Give a shout out to Town Biz Sports and Entertainment. And also want to give a shout out to the brother True Raw for TV. I saw them mentioning this first, so I definitely got to give them the nod. Now, and this is, of course, talking about uh, the last Friday movie. Now, of course, um, they have been talking about this for years. They've been talking about developing another Friday for at least 2 decades, and it's been a lot of back and forth, he say, she say, so to speak. Um, a lot of the fingers have pointed towards Cube's way, Ice Cube's way, and believe it or not, a lot of people are trying to point the blame on Chris Tucker. Okay, and the reason why they want to point the blame on Chris Tucker, which I think is kind of selfish, because Chris Tucker doesn't live the same way. He doesn't live that same life like he once did. A lot of people got to understand. Uh, Chris Tucker is a devout Christian now. Okay, so he's changed his life. Uh, but I understand where Ice Cube is coming from, but also I kind of don't, because a lot of people have put Ice Cube on blast about the money that was made from the film. Okay, and we don't need to get into that because John Witherspoon, God rest his soul, he passed away. Before he passed away, he had talked about you know the the amount of money that he had made, and then of course others have been vocal about the money that they have made, and even though that they may have not made as much as what some people would have thought they would have made, they do tend to come off a little bit ungrateful, because you have to think about it, man. A lot of people did not expect, well, Ice Cube and the whole cast, they didn't expect that film to really do that good. I mean, they didn't expect it to be a classic like it was. And, of course, I'm of the notion that, the first Friday is the best. The second Friday, I would, I thought that it was good too. I think, like, but the Friday after next, like, I don't know, that was it was kind of cheesy or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, man, they were all pretty good. But the first Friday is always the best. You know, um, you do have to wonder who all they're gonna bring back, and like the brother Town Biz was talking about in his video, who all is gonna come back. Now that's gonna be a slippery slope, and that's gonna be kind of difficult too, and how they're gonna play things out, because we have some members that no longer are there. Now, I had heard about I had always wondered why Nia Long and why Regina King weren't in the one and the others. I felt like Regina King, even though that she had a small role that she did, I felt like she did a really good job. I always liked Regina King, and Regina King has always fed good off of with the chemistry between her and Ice Cube. I got to think was was in films with Ice Cube before. She was in Boys in the Hood with Ice Cube, and then of course Nia Long. A lot of people were wondering, what happened to Nia Long. I was one of those ones, but of course we know that several of the cast members aren't with us anymore. You got R.I.P. to Tiny Zeus Lister, who of course played the ever so infamous Debo. Okay, he's no longer there now. You still got Terry Cruz's character there. Um, I always forget his name, but then you also have uh, the Pops, yeah, Pops, of course, and John Witherspoon. He's no longer there. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic, and seeing how that'll play out. And I don't think anybody else had passed away. What's up with it, Kobe Bryant Film Room? Make sure you go sub to the brother Kobe Bryant Film Room, man. How you doing, man? Happy to have you, man. Let's run Kobe Bryant Film Room up, man. We're trying to get him to 1,000, man. Really dope content over there, man. And matter of fact, I'm gonna do a video talking about Kobe Bryant a little bit later. I think you're gonna enjoy that one, Kobe Bryant Film Room. So if you can, man, go ahead and pull up, or playback game, man. But nevertheless, man, salute. But like I said, it's gonna be interesting, man, and it's gonna be an interesting dynamic how they play everything because of the characters that aren't there anymore. And then of course we have the ever so popular Smokey, okay, and everybody wants to know um, how Smokey character is gonna be. Of course, it was said that he went to rehab and all this other stuff, of course. And even though that Smokey wasn't there, you got to give it to Mike Epps. He played the hell out of that role, being Day Day. Now, of course, Day Day was his own character, but they were trying to find that void, fill that void of Smokey. And then also, I also forget about Ezel. R.I.P. to A.J. Johnson, because A.J. Johnson, I felt like Ezel was a very good character as well. Unfortunately, he had lost his life too, and so that's another character that had passed away too as well in the movie. There might have been some other. Then I also think about Megan Good. She turned into a star. Uh, I don't think Ice Cube is getting enough credit for a, a lot of those characters that were in the movie. They went on to be mega stars. Okay, like I've already mentioned, like you mentioned Nia Long, um, and Nia Long, she had branched out. She had already did her thing in a couple of movies, but I felt like with that movie, and as well as you know like I think maybe like uh, a few years prior to that in what's it called in Boys in the Hood, in which Ice Cube was in that movie or whatever. He had always he saw something in Nia Long. What's up with it, Jelly Bean? I'll see you in the building, man. Ain't seen you in a minute, man, but salute to you. Um, but I like this, man, because this is a good chance, man, for seeing how everybody is, how the dynamic is going to be. Now, if people are looking for it to be the same Friday like it was the first Friday and stuff, and of course you're gonna have a lot of the youth that are gonna want to know the history of everything. And I'm pretty sure for some of you young cats, y'all weren't even some of y'all weren't even alive when the first Friday had came out. But let me tell you, man, when it first came out, man, it it was it started off as a hood classic, but then it everybody started watching it. You know what I'm saying? And from all cultures, all walks of life, and it just blew up. And everybody was always using, you know how they have memes and stuff like that, and cameos, and different. Uh, like how they using improvs and stuff like that. Friday was one of the main ones, and they're still using them to this day. They're still using them to this day and everything. But it's gonna be interesting to see how they how they how they market to the younger audience and stuff, because we are talking about, like I said, this goes back 20 some odd years, man. And times were different. They didn't have every technology. Technology wasn't as prevalent now. Social media wasn't there and everything. But I think with the power of social media and everything, everything has to evolve. But I'm anxious to see how they're gonna play everything out. How all of these characters are older now. They're older now. You have an older, if Smokey does return, which everybody wants to see how Chris Tucker is, you know what I'm saying? Because Chris Tucker, I don't think Chris Tucker gets enough credit for his versatility. I mean, Chris Tucker had a small window. If we're talking about like his comedian, his work that he did, he really had a small window in comparison to the Martin Lawrences, to uh, Eddie Murphys and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think, man, is it gonna be like, is Friday gonna be okay? When they came out with Coming to America, the second one, is it gonna be kind of that feel? Because a lot of people were disappointed in the second Coming to America. You know what I'm saying? And just like, Coming to America, when they made a second one, you had a lot of people that just weren't there anymore. For the simple fact that some people had transitioned, some people had they weren't above the surface anymore. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting dynamic, how they play everything, and I'm interested to see it. Look, man, things change. You know what I'm saying? And every movie that is made, like a sequel, like when they make a sequel to another movie, sometimes it's just not gonna be that same. You said Coming to America too was good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too, man. I like the fact that Eddie Murphy brought in Wesley Snipes. I thought that was pretty cool, because you always wanted guys to work with one another more frequently. Like a lot of people, they wanted to see when Bernie Mac and Samuel L. had did Soul Man. A lot of people wanted to see that, because they always wanted those guys to work together, or the Expendables. A lot of people wanted to see Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone work together. You know what I'm saying? They never really made any films together like that, and that was the same thing. I thought it was a cool dynamic to see Wesley Snipes and Eddie Murphy in the same movie, because those guys were running. They were running things in the '90s on a comedian level. Eddie Murphy was running things, in the '80s, and in some of the '90s, and in the '90s, early '90s, Wesley Snipes, dark skin, man, they was that dude. So yeah, I agree with you, Kobe Bryant Film Room. I like Coming to America too, but that's just me. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. And just like Fresh Prince of Bel Air, like they made the remake of Fresh Prince of Bel Air. A lot of people didn't really like it. I liked it. Now I'll tell you what I didn't like the remake of. I I really didn't like the remake of White Men Can't Jump. I really didn't. I didn't like it, and it was nothing against. Oh boy, um, the white dude in there, man. But it, I don't know. It just didn't have that same feel like Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes and some of those players that actually played. Like in the first White Men Can't Jump, and this is a little bit off the subject. I'll get back on the on last Friday. In the first White Men Can't Jump, a lot of people don't realize that they had guys that actually played in the NBA and that actually really could hoop. Like like a lot of people don't realize that some of those guys were close to making the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Now, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, I don't know about them, but they had actually guys that really had talent in there. You know what I'm saying? Just to talk about basketball a little bit or whatever. But that was one of the reasons why I was so intrigued by White Men Can't Jump, and that's another slept-on basketball movie that I don't think it's talked about enough because then you bring in the hustling and the gambling aspect of it, just kind of like Blue Chips. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, just going back, spinning the block, talking talking about last Friday. It's going to be interesting to see how some of these some of these characters are now as grown people, because you got to wonder, some of these characters that they had, they didn't really have like really big parts. Like Megan Good, she only had one small little part when she said, "Hurry up!" But now Megan Good, she pretty much was all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Um, Regina King, even now, Regina King, I think she was there. She had a lot more a lot more say in the movie than say like a Nia Long. You saw Nia Long every now and again. You know what I'm saying? Now Nia Long everywhere. So it's gonna be crazy to see how some of these characters are. I forgot about Donald D.C. Curry. I always think about Unc, and then of course you got to think about Kim Watley. Um, how she's gonna be. You got a lot of people in there. Michael Blackson. Um, you know what I'm saying? Clinton Powell. You know what I'm saying? I always like Clinton Powell. I liked him ever since he played Chauncey on Minister Society and a few other movies. I liked him. I liked him as the pimp in Dead Presidents. For those of y'all that don't know who Clinton Powell is, he played Pinky. You know what I'm saying? That's Pinky. You know what I'm saying? So, he always plays those roles good, man. Um, but I think it's gonna be crazy, man. That they have a final Friday, the last Friday, man, and we'll see how it is. Of course, you got Terry Crews, you got Cat Williams. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of comedians. I don't like I said, man. Ice Cube does not get enough credit, man. He does not get enough credit for what he's done. I don't think Ice Cube gets enough credit, man, for some of the stuff that he's created, like the Big Three. The NBA. They tried to munch off the Big Three and try to take his ideas and stuff like that, man. So, um, I think it's gonna be crazy to see this dynamic, man, and how how things have evolved over time and how they're gonna tie in, the social media era and how things are gonna play out and everything from what it was in the mid '90s, because a lot of things have changed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even when they talk about the weed smoking, you know what I'm saying? How they gonna? There's so many different strands of weed now. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how that plays out. Um, I'm gonna switch gears, man, and I'm gonna talk about this Stephen A. Smith and LeBron situation, man. I know I've talked about it before. I do want to give a shout out to the brother Lamont over there at FYF, man. He came through and gave gave his spill on how he feels about this situation. Um, Look, I've already pretty much have talked about this, but I'm kind of thinking I'm thinking to myself, man, and like I said, guys and gals too, I don't really get into the uh, conspiracy theories and uh, any of that stuff. I don't try to read into things too deep or anything like that. But I do try to use my common sense in a lot of this stuff, man. And let's look at this, right? You got Stephen A. Smith, man. Okay, you got Stephen A. Smith who just got the bag. Okay, I didn't report it because everybody had knew that Stephen A. Smith was going to get that extension anyways. You know what I'm saying? So he got his 100 mil extension. Okay. Uh, on top of that, the Lakers have been winning so far. Okay. Now the Lakers, they got the Lakers back in the news. Got to give credit to Luca. That's it's because of Luca. Although LeBron has played uh, good, but the credit is not being given to Luca. Okay, all right. And I know people want to give JJ Redick his credit. No, it's been Luca. Okay, those other guys have been playing good. Everybody seems to be buying in all of a sudden and everything, but got to give credit to Luca. Even people are giving credit to Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka and stuff, which I think is crazy because then they came out with that. Jeannie Buss wants to come out, lying, saying that AD was complaining constantly and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother conversation. So the Lakers are quote unquote they have this narrative being pushed that the Lakers have saved the NBA and all this other stuff. So you have that, and then of course, these guys. Look, a lot of people don't know, man. That some of these guys, man, they try to fool the public into thinking something is one way when it's really not. You understand what I mean? Like now everybody's talking about it, right? And people have been talking about Stephen A. Smith and people have been talking about LeBron. Two guys which are let's just call it what it is. They're polarizing, and you have a lot of people that either love these guys really much, pause, or hate these guys. Okay, when we talk about Stephen A. Smith and when we talk about LeBron and whatnot, and neither one of those guys I think really cares. So you have that, and now you have people focusing on those two. And so the reason why I bring this up and I think it's like a fix is simply because they were probably like, okay, you got your 100 mil. People are constantly talking about you. You had Kai Sinet on first take, and everybody was was in awe of how Kai Sinet just cooked Stephen A. Smith on there. You know what I'm saying? And he did get cooked. You know what I'm saying? Even though that I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff that Kyle Sinet was saying, he held his own, and he, in my opinion, he barbecued. He backed Stephen A. Smith in the corner to the point where he was talking about, yeah, you can't beat him in one on one and all this other stuff. Now we got to no, we would, just stay with the debate, man. You're just mad because you couldn't bully the young dude, and the young dude, he was literally a young whippersnapper, and not only being a young whippersnapper, his wit game was highly better than yours, and his comeback game, he had a counter for pretty much everything that you tried to throw at him. So you weren't going to be able to get away with some of the stuff that you were bad, like with some of those other guys. I could imagine if Bubba Dub was on there. That's I think Bubba Dub would have just took it to a whole nother level. But shout out to Bubba Dub, regardless. But I think that this is a fix, man, and I think that both of these guys, because like I said, good contra, good controversy, bad controversy, it doesn't matter. It still sells regardless. It still sells regardless. You know what I'm saying? And people are going to look at it. People are going to pay attention to it. You know, and my whole thing is this: sometimes I wonder if Brian was kind of mad that Stephen A. Smith had got the bag. You know what I'm saying? Now we know that Brian is a millionaire and everything like that, but I was thinking maybe they could spin it like LeBron is mad because Stephen A. Smith had got the bag, and he's like, man, he gonna get the bag for talking about us for you know pretty much talking trash about us every single morning and stuff like that. It's like, man, I'll be damned if he gets the bag and stuff. So, but nevertheless, man, um, it is what it is, man. And I'm a actually triple down on the situation because I think a lot of people uh, are running with this narrative that Stephen A. Smith was was just talking about was singling out Bronny and everything, and that wasn't the case. He did really, honestly, like I said before. Okay, Stephen A. Smith did not. Um, he didn't go in on Bronny like I've seen some of these other guys do. Like I've seen guys on here, man, that have no business talking about Bronny, really critiquing Bronny as if they played in the NBA, as if they're in the shape that he's in. You know what I'm saying? As if they can actually stand in front of Bronny and keep up with him. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can barely move, okay, if you can barely move, if you're not in the type of shape, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna talk about guys that that are just big as hell or whatnot because you have a lot of big people that can move. But if you're not in shape and you've never played anywhere, you've never picked up a basketball, or you look like you've never played, even step foot on the court, I've always said that you have no reason to critique LeBron or Bronny or even LeBron for that matter. You know what I'm saying? As much as some people don't like him, and this is the thing. A lot of people have went in on Bronny. You know what I'm saying? And Stephen A. Smith is right. He's right now. Did Stephen A. Smith uh, stand on business like we would have wanted him to? Not necessarily. I, really, honestly, uh, Stephen A. Smith should have been more unapologetic to the situation, really, because he was criticizing LeBron. He wasn't criticizing. He was criticizing LeBron on the fact that you brought this, pretty much on yourself. You're the reason why everybody's heavily critical of Bronny is because you made those statements, or pretty much you uttered those words in a statement saying that Bronny would be better than half of these guys up in there. Well, hell, people are going to be looking for that. You know what I'm saying? People are going to try to believe the hype. People are going to uh, have expectations and put these high expectations on Bronny simply because of what you said, and that's what they're going to do. So I don't listen when they when people sit here and they say that like Bronny James, he's trash and all this other stuff or whatever. That's no different than when the analysts get on there and they say, well, this guy's not ready for the league. This guy can't play here. This guy can't do it. You got to be able to accept constructive criticism. And like I said, if everybody goes back and quits going in the tirade just because they don't like a certain individual, and you really just sit down and you listen to what Stephen A. Smith was saying, although you may not like Stephen A. Smith and you don't like some of the things that he does sometimes, he was telling the truth, man. And he wasn't aiming it, you know, just at Bronny. It wasn't like he was saying Bronny is garbage and all this other stuff. That's not what he did. He pretty much said, look, save the grief as a father. And he said as a father. He was pleading with him as a father. Yeah. What better way? Now, I'm like this, man. What LeBron should have did in this situation, what would have been better for him to do, and this is as a father, and I'm speaking as a father, would have been better to pull him to a side in a situation like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you sitting up there, it's making it seem as if though he disrespected Bronny and he called him all types of names and he was making fun of him because of the situation with his heart or something like that, which there have been people on online that's been doing that type of stuff. I mean, if it would have been one of them type of situations, then yeah, we would be having a different conversation. I would have been all for even though that I'm not a huge LeBron James fan or anything like that. I would have been on LeBron James' side, but this had nothing to do primarily with Bronny James. This was about you, and this is about what you unfortunately put your son into. And as I've said before, if my son, if he wants to play a sport or something like that, I have to be ready for the criticism that's going to come. Like if they're critiquing my son on the way that he plays, the way that he runs, his fundamentals, this, that, and the third, right? And it's harsh criticism. I can't be mad at that. Now, if it's personal and they're disrespecting him, talking about the way that he looks, or you know, if there's a handicap, that a particular child may have, or something like that, and they're making fun of that, or something that they can't control, or something like that, or if there was a situation like in Bronny's case where he went into cardiac arrest or something like that. Okay, then okay, by every means, yes, you do jump in the dude face, and if he's feeling froggy, then unfortunately, we just gonna have to get physical. But in this case right here, I stand on what I said, and I triple down on what I said. LeBron was out of pocket, man. He was out of pocket, and if he really felt some type of way, you should have approached him, somewhere else or whatever. But during the game, man, you're trying to flex your muscle and stuff like that. How come you didn't have that same type of energy for Isaiah Stewart? You know what I mean? Like you didn't have that type of energy for Isaiah Stewart, who is just as big, weighs just as much, plays the same sport as you, so he pretty much has the same type of conditioning as you, and plus on top of that, he's younger than you, and you got to pick and choose your battles, man. Stephen A. Smith ain't number 6 foot one. I give him maybe about close, maybe about 200, maybe about 190 something. But you 6'9". You know what I'm saying? You 6'9". Some people say you like 6'10". Okay, and you 260 pounds, man. Come on, bro. And even with all that physicality, man, your whole your mental, your mindset is in the wrong place in that situation. I know some people get upset, but we have to call it what it is, man. People don't want to face the facts, but that's the truth. That's the harsh truth. So I didn't get on here, man, to stay all day. Um, be sure to hit that like button. Sub to the channel if you're not a member. Also hit the notifications too. Straight to the point, sports and entertainment. I'll get at y'all later.